2414 is a podcast about finding hope and common ground through casual conversation. Like the friends on the road in the New Testament, in Luke chapter 24, verse 14, we want to walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. Thanks for walking with us.
Hey, welcome to 2414. My name is Dan Weber. I'm sitting with my friends Brian Fish and Brenda Segovia. Shane Welter has the day off today. Thank you for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for being part of the conversation. We're in a series right now on transitions, looking at those moments in life where we're moving from one thing to the other. Transitions that many of us go through, if not all of us, and yet maybe we don't always have conversation around those things of how we experience and process that. So today we're talking about transitions around graduation, picking up the conversation where we left it off before. But before we get into graduation transition, Brian, welcome.
Thank you.
Glad you're here. Brenda, welcome back.
Yep, thanks.
Glad you're here as well. We have a tradition, Brian, of sharing highs and lows. It could be from the last hour, the last week, this little season in your life, something that's been hard or frustrating, something that's been good and uplifting. And then the question of the day is, when you graduated, now whether it's high school or college, or if you want to go back to your fourth grade graduation, but when you had a graduation official moment, what's something that was happening in the world in that year? So a world event from your graduation, if you remember. Maybe it's just a hit song or popular movie, but what's something that was current, contemporary when you graduated? So we'll start with your low and your high for the day or the week, and something that happened the year you graduated.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm Brian, if you don't know this voice. My low, yesterday, I sat in 5 hours of traffic total because I had to drive to Seattle and then back to church and then back home, and I live an hour away. So, yeah, that was fun. It would have been only 4 hours, but on my way home, I took a wrong turn. And yeah, it was just a mess. So that was my low. My high, I just had Chick-fil-A, and I'm very happy right now.
That's a good high. We are not officially endorsed, although we would welcome such an endorsement if they wanted to be a sponsor.
Oh, and something that happened when I graduated.
Yeah, what was going on in the world?
I graduated in 2017, and I guess, Trump was just elected. So I remember a lot of like division happening at that time between people. And so, yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, welcome to the world. You graduated.
Yep.
Everyone's mad at everyone else.
Yep.
So, that's real. Thanks for sharing, Brian. Mm-hmm. Brenda, lows, highs, world events from when you graduated one of the times.
Well, I think my low is similar to yours. It's also traffic. Just has been so annoying lately, either coming here or heading home. There's these lane closures on I-5 that happen at night, that happen just randomly during the day. So there's just been a lot of traffic, and that's been really annoying. So that's my low. A high, I also really like Chick-fil-A, that we all had lunch together. That was great. And then the softball game from last week here at church, that was a lot of fun. I was really glad that I was still able to catch and hit, and wasn't awful after being out of practice for so long. And it just felt good to be back on a softball field. I played softball in high school, so
I didn't know that.
That's my favorite.
What
sport.
Position did you play in high school?
I went from third base to outfield, and then just rotating in with what was needed. So this time I got to play outfield and then second base, and there was a lot of action at second base, and it was fun. So that was a high.
My cross country team in high school, at the end of the year, we would play a softball game against the girls softball team. Ooh. And that was intense. And I fouled off a pitch one time, and it hit the pitcher's car. Oh. And so I was very hesitant to get back into the box.
Okay. My thing that I always did wrong, which you're not supposed to do, is throw the bat. So I would get so focused that as soon as I got a hit, I would chuck the bat. So in high school, I got kicked out of some games because I get warnings like, you can't do that. You're hitting the catcher with the bat. And I'd say, okay, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm not doing it on purpose. So I would get kicked out. And finally, at one of our practices, my coach tied my hands to the bat so that I physically couldn't throw it. Like I had to remember to just drop it. So
Wow.
that's my softball story.
All right. It's a good softball story.
Things that were happening when I graduated. I don't remember specific things for those years. I graduated high school 2010. So I think there was a Katy Perry song that was really popular at the time, the California Girls.
Okay.
So there
Should we
you
have
go.
Brian sing it for us?
Absolutely.
Or Brian, you want to give us a quick California Girls?
California girls.
Yep.
Something.
All right.
Something, yep.
Nailed it.
Nailed
I
it.
don't think we're going to get, the algorithm's not going to catch us on that one.
Okay.
We're not going to flag anything.
Yeah.
Cool. For me, lows. There's a few of those. Yeah, had some health challenges. People sick in the house. Yeah, so navigating quarantining and trying to keep everybody healthy and getting their noses tickled every morning. So that's not been fun. High. By the time this gets to the world, it will be out of date and no longer relevant, but the St. Louis Blues won a really great hockey game the other night against the Colorado Avalanche. And I shared in the episode a few weeks ago that the Blues are going to get trounced in the series and have no business. You know, we're not gonna prevail, most likely. Although I would love to be proved wrong. So maybe by the time this comes out, everybody can say, "Ha, you were wrong," and I'll say, "Yeah, I was." But it was fun to watch the Blues game last night. So I've graduated a few times. I graduated high school in the year 2000. So it was a long time ago. And one of the crazy things happening then was this thing called Y2K. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, maybe you're both familiar with it. Brenda's nodding a little bit. Mr. Fish, are you familiar with Y2K?
Just a little.
So yeah, or no? So
Very
little. So the idea is that computers were programming based on things, and kind of like we'll put the year like 99 or 98 with just an apostrophe. They just use 2 digits for the years instead of realizing, oh, we're gonna in a few years we're gonna hit a new millennium, and so no one knew what was going to happen with when all the computer programs rolled over at midnight. And maybe the aliens were going to come, maybe just buildings would collapse and nuclear weapons would all fire. And so people kind of scrambled to recode or whatever it is people like that do. And New Year's Eve came and went and nothing happened. So
Do you remember that New Year's Eve?
Yeah, it was a big deal. It was like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
And, it's just the whole infrastructure stopped. Does water stop pumping?
Right.
Do you lose all your bank account information?
So counting down to midnight, and then midnight rolls
Just-
around, and
Yeah, okay.
yep.
I guess we'll just go to school tomorrow or whatever. So yeah, random experience from graduation year for me. The other ones I don't remember at all. So talk about graduating and transitions. Brian graduated most recently, 2017. Mm-hmm. Brenda, when's the last time you graduated?
2015.
2015.
From college. Mm-hmm.
And the last time I graduated from seminary was 2008. So all within somewhat recent history. Brian, what was it like after you put on the silly gown, you put on the square hat? Why is that still a thing, by the way? You put on the square hat, and did you get to keep that, or did you rent that? Do you remember how'd that work for you?
I think I got to keep it, but I gave it to my mom, who's like a social worker. So then she would give it to someone who needs it.
Oh.
But like I bought one for sure.
You bought it and then paid it forward.
Yeah. And then kind of paid it forward.
Brenda, you still wear your graduation gown hat ever?
Every year.
Every year on the anniversary, every June 15th, every year.
Yeah, I know it's at my mom's house, so I bought it for each of the graduations, except for college. I think that one we got it for free. Like that was like a gift to the seniors. So I'm sure they all live in the back of a closet at my mom's house.
I don't think I have any.
No?
No, I've had like 3 real graduations. I couldn't. I don't think I have any of that stuff.
Some people keep the tassel on their rear view mirror in their cars. That I don't do, but some people are really
I got a
sentimental.
rope. I remember at undergrad, I got a medallion for something, and then there was some gold rope. I might have those in a box somewhere.
Yeah, it's important stuff.
Clearly, very, very important. Everyone listening right now is really impressed. Wow, he's got gold rope. Why, what does that mean? He doesn't even know. Clearly, this is a very impressive thing. Yeah, it's in a box somewhere. So, Brian, you got your hat, and you pass on the gown and somebody else, and then what? So it's summer vacation. That's normal.
It was summer vacation. I was working at Wild Waves Water Park, just off Enchanted Highway.
What was your job at Wild Waves?
I was a lifeguard. Yeah.
Were you a good lifeguard?
I was a decent lifeguard.
Okay.
No one drowned on my watch.
Okay.
So that's the main thing. Yeah. I was just working, saving tuition money because I was off to college that fall.
So did you know you're going to go to college right away?
I did, yes, because I was in AVID, which is like a pre-college prep program kind of thing. So then they really encourage you to, apply what you learned and go to college right after high school. So I knew I was going to college.
Did you know what you were going to college for?
Yeah. Yep. Nursing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew. Yep.
Did high school prepare you for that? Did life? How did you go from being told what classes you have to take to a couple electives to I'm going to be a nurse?
Yeah. So in my I can't remember what year in high school, but well, first off, I grew up I have some medical things. So I grew up in the hospital kind of. So I had a lot of surgeries, and so I saw the role of nurses, in the healthcare setting, and I really, really enjoyed that. And so that was cool. And then I went to a camp called Camp Corey, and they're like a medical needs-based camp that serves kids with medical conditions. And so there's a team of nurses there to help because they still need health care for that week.
Yeah.
So I got to know nurses in that way. And yeah, I just kind of was like, what they do is really cool. They really get to know the patient. They build a relationship with them. And I think I want to do this. Yeah.
And so you found a college university that was going to serve that?
Yeah, Pacific Lutheran University right in Tacoma, more specifically Parkland, has a great nursing program. And so that's where I went.
Did you commute from home or did you move on campus?
I lived on campus. Yeah. Flieger was the dorm name, Flieger.
Did you get assigned a roommate? What was that like? What, just you've been living at home and all of a sudden you're on campus and there's a dude who's there with you?
Yeah. I got assigned a random roommate the first day. He was just there unpacking his stuff when I arrived. I was like, "Hi, I'm Brian." He was like, "Hi, I'm Ben." You want to go get dinner? Sure.
New best friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, friendship.
Guys are so easy.
Yeah.
We're going to be living in the same space. We should probably eat together.
Yeah, so that's how that happened. Yeah.
Brenda, was it different for you of meeting roommates?
Yeah, well, and I mean, I always knew I was going to go to college too, but I went off to community first because I didn't know what I wanted to be yet. I had different ideas, but I thought, why waste so much money for a 4-year when I don't even know yet? So to be switching back and forth. So I went to community first to get all of the general stuff out of the way. So I commuted. I lived at home for those first couple years until I heard about DCEs and knew that I wanted to be a church worker, and then got pointed towards Concordia. So once I went to Concordia,
a DCE?
A DCE is a director of Christian education.
Nice.
And I had never heard of that until a couple years into community college. And once I heard more about directors of Christian education and church work, that's kind of when I knew I wanted to do that. And when I went to Concordia, I didn't know anybody. So I got assigned roommates. I remember you fill out a sheet with your interests and what are your hobbies? What are your cleanliness levels? Like, are you a clean person? Like, are you okay with a little bit of a mess? And what kind of things do you like? So then they try to pair you up with people that have similar interests. Hopefully, if you're a non-smoker, they're a non-smoker, that kind of thing. So 3 random roommates, one in my room, and then we had another bedroom in our dorm. So there were another 2 girls in there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So random.
Brian, did you get to fill out any preference form?
Yeah. Yep. It's kind of the same thing, like how clean you are. What type of music do you listen to? Your study environment. Do you like it quiet? Do you like it loud?
That was one too.
your major,
Yeah.
or intended major at least.
I should have put on there like super clean, even though I don't think I'm like a super, super neat freak, but my roommates were definitely on the messier side. We had some conversations. So I should have just said, I want the cleanest people.
I don't remember filling out any forms. We maybe did. I was not good at paperwork. I remember in high school, but go off to college, they'd send just packets full of papers and so many different colors. Like, oh, you didn't fill out the thing. Yes, this was the salmon one. No, not the pink one, not the orange one. The salmon, like, oh, there's so many colors that I don't know have names for. And
I loved filling out paperwork, just all the different things. How many times can I fill out my name and address?
And you're not changing it each time.
No, it's the same information, but I just like all of the officialness, the paperwork.
How many times can I fill out my name and address?
It's fun.
Thoughts that have never entered my head. If I fill out more than once, I'm losing it. I'm like flipping tables over. I'm like, come on, why don't you guys talk to each other in the same building? You should figure it out.
Right.
No patience for that. Brenda, you said something in passing that I want to double back on. You're talking about going to community college and you hadn't heard of directors of Christian education and you didn't know what you wanted to be. It's an interesting phrase, isn't it? Like what I wanted to be or what I want to be. Like that's a bold like statement for what we're doing at either college or vocationally or professionally. Like being that's identity. And I don't know, when we talked with Cole the other day about graduation and working and just trying to figure out what is life and what matters most. And I heard him really wrestling with what I do professionally doesn't necessarily define who I am. And I don't think it defines who you are either, but it's interesting that we say that. I don't have a question there other than that feels like a burden, especially put on some 17, 18, 19-year-old young woman or man. What do you want to be? Like, who are you forever? Decide now.
Right. I think there is a lot of pressure. It's two things. Like you're always told when you're younger, you can be whatever you want to be. Like reach for the stars. You can do it all, but also have a plan by the time you graduate high school. Like you should be on track, know what you're going to do, have your like 5, 10, 20-year plan already mapped out when they haven't even taught us how to do our own taxes or like other simple things, but you're supposed to have all of this figured out. So there is a lot of pressure there.
So for you, it sounded like community college was at least some space to work some of that out, but you're also still going to school anyway. It's just cheaper.
It's just cheaper. I knew that I was going to keep going to school. I had ideas of things I was interested in. I thought maybe I'll be a psychologist. I'll take all these psychology classes and see if that's the path. Maybe I'll be a teacher. Maybe I'll be this or that. Or because it's cheaper, I can take fun classes to fill some of those requirements. I can take an astronomy class, which I did, which was fun. We had star watching parties at night on campus. So it was a fun place to explore different things and to kind of figure that out. So then once that started getting close to, okay, I've got all my general stuff. I'm going to transfer. Where am I transferring to? What am I going to do? I'm not so sure yet. So it took a little bit longer for me.
Yeah. Brian, did you feel that burden of, I know you had a nursing kind of tract or a plan. Did that feel like a weighty thing? Like this is who I am? Or did it feel like this is something I'm going to do in my life?
Yeah, I was kind of the opposite of Brenda. I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a nurse. This is what I'm going to do. Kind of a few years into my education, college education, I was like, well, I want to do ministry. So I want to be a missionary nurse, go serve God's people. So I kind of felt the pressure a little bit, but I was like, no, this is the plan. I'm going to go do it now.
So you started at Pacific Lutheran University,
I did.
But you're not there now.
No, I transferred out to a community college.
Okay, so first POU, then community college. So the opposite of Brenda's here.
Yep. And I really wish I did it the other way.
Why did you do it the way you did it? What were the factors in that moment?
Well, like I said, I was part of AVID, and they're really set on 4-year colleges, and they kind of look down a little bit on community college. They don't really recommend it. I don't know why. I never really had that discussion. So I always had in my mind, like, I have to go to a 4-year university. So it never came up community college. But then PLU just didn't work out the way I wanted it to. And my mom and I were moving back to Olympia at the time, so we just found a community college there. And they had a pre-nursing program, so where you do all the prereqs. And I was like, well, I still want to do nursing, so I'm going to do the prereqs there. It's 2 years at the community college. Yeah. And it's a lot cheaper.
Did you finish that 2-year program?
I did.
Nice.
Yep.
So did you graduate with something, or just you finished what they offered and you had to go somewhere else to graduate?
Yep. I graduated with an associate's in pre-nursing.
An associate's in pre-nursing. Mm-hmm. And then you went where?
Concordia University, Wisconsin.
Where in Wisconsin is that?
Mequon. So it's like 25 minutes north of Milwaukee.
Okay.
Next to Cedarburg, Grafton, if anybody knows where that is. So
somebody out there knows where that is.
I'm sure somebody. Woo! Yeah. They're like,
somebody probably does, but probably not too many people listening to this.
Yeah.
Although maybe I'd be surprised. If you're from Cedarburg or Grafton, comment below.
There you go.
I say all the time. Shane's like, there's no place to comment. Leave a positive review. We love Graftonites.
Yeah.
So how did you find that? Wisconsin is far from Washington.
Yeah, it really is. Well, when I graduated, I was, I think, 21. Yeah, and so I was like, it's time for me to like leave home for a little bit. So I just chose out of state. Plus, I wanted to do missionary work, and so I wanted like a Lutheran school and then the Concordia systems. California was too close. It's too hot. I wanted to experience a real winter too, because as you know, in Seattle, it's pretty mild. So I was at Concordia University, Wisconsin. That seems like a good choice. They have the Lutheran education that I would want to prepare me for missionary work, and then the weather that I liked. So that's how I kind of chose. I didn't even go visit over there.
Just did it.
I applied. I got accepted. I went.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice.
So,
have you experienced a real winter yet?
Yeah. No, these past 2 that I've been there have been pretty mild. So,
okay.
Yeah. We're also like right on the Lake Michigan, and so the lake is typically like 10 degrees warmer than when you go inland. So.
But is it colder than Washington?
Oh yes, I remember I woke up one morning and it was -10.
Yeah, that's gross.
That's
numbers.
That's fun. Yeah.
So you're in the middle of, working towards another graduation, another, I don't know, potentially defining point in your life.
Yeah.
Do you see finishing a degree for you as is it just sort of another step? Is that a big deal in your life, in your family's life?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not nursing anymore.
So you've changed courses?
I have changed courses. Okay. I'm applied theology with a theological language minor, so I'm pre-sem. I'm on the pastoral roots. Yeah, that was a big changing point in my life that I was not expecting really at all. If you asked me like 4 years ago, what are you going to do? I would have never said pastor. Yeah. But like finishing the degree is going to be big for me because I'm currently just got done with my 4th year of college. Ooh. I should be graduated, but I'm not. Yeah. So I'm looking forward for these next 2 years and finally saying, yeah, I have my undergrad. And so that'll be a milestone for me because it's been quite a journey through.
How was that conversation with your family when you said, hey, how I was on this nursing track for the longest time, so I'm changing. I'm going to do this instead. How did they react when you first said that to them?
Sorry to call you out, Mom, but she cried and she was very happy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, my family, they were all very supportive. My friends and family. Yeah.
So happy reactions to it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I think I was the one most upset not because I changed my major, because it added a couple more years.
Was that a factor? Did you consider staying your original course and plan because I just want to get this done? Or did you say, you know what, the 2 years, that's not a big deal?
Yeah, I considered it. I was like, I came this far. I've done 3 years of pre-nursing stuff. I've done a whole year of nursing school. And I was like, I'm so close. I can have my undergrad. I can start undergrad in like nursing, a BSN, a Bachelor in Nursing and Science. I can start working and then work my way to missionary work somewhere. Like, I'm excited. But then I was like, that was my plan.
Yeah.
But I really wanted to do other things, and that weighed heavy on my heart. And I think by the end of it, 2 years isn't that long in a lifetime. So for this part, 2 more years is fine.
That's pretty cool. I went into undergrad expecting to be pre-seminary, planning to be a pastor. So 4 years there, then 4 more years, and now been doing that full time for a bunch of years. So it's I didn't have that sort of existential but really concerted, hard decision-making process about major. I've had it plenty of other times in life about a lot of things, but education just sort of flowed. It felt like one thing to the next. You said, by the way, applied theology program.
Yeah.
Is there a not applied theology program there as well?
I don't think so. They just call it.
there's like the applied theology and just theoretical theology.
I think we just have a regular theology major.
So that's the next step up.
That seems like a demotion. Like, there's applied theology and there's other people who just talk about and don't do anything.
It's like separate classes. I'm not too sure. I just talked to the theology head and the pre-seminary head, and they're like, okay, so you'll do applied theology. And I was like, okay.
Right. That sounds like you're going to do something with this as opposed to I'm going to study this and not do anything with it.
What? Yeah.
That's an expensive hobby. That's a very expensive hobby.
Yeah, it really is. I looked at the coursework and it looked like it would prepare me for seminary. So
I wonder if the other theology, if that's people take that more as a minor, like your main focus, but then also you are really into theology and you want to have that as part of your degree. I don't know.
Yeah.
Curious.
We have a bunch of different religion education majors out there. Yeah.
So Brian's in the middle of education. Well, I don't know, still, it depends on how you count, I suppose. But you're after you've graduated high school, you've put in 6 years already?
I put in 4.
4 years?
I have 2 more years.
2 more years here, and then 4 more years at seminary.
Yep.
So you are kind of deep in the throes of higher education.
Yeah.
Brenda, you got to graduate and then stop going to school.
Yes, but not forever. I know that I want to go back at some point for a master's of some sort. Again, I don't know exactly what yet, but once I make that decision, I'll go back to school. But yeah.
So what was it like for you transitioning from I've been a student for 22 years or whatever, and then now I'm a grown up and I like that part of my life is at least temporarily over?
It's funny when at least for me, when I was in school, I looked forward to, I'm going to be an adult. I won't have to be at school super early, have these classes, this homework, all this pressure, these assignments. There's so much more freedom when you're an adult. And now, of course, I look back and think I had it so easy. The responsibility level and consequence to not fulfilling those responsibilities was so different than what it is now. I mean, now it's so many other things. I mean, it's paying to live, your rent, your food, your bills, your groceries, all of those things. There's so many other big pressures, like adult pressures. And now I kind of wish I had appreciated what that was at that point.
Do you remember one of the an early experience where that became real for you? Like, oh, okay, that's over now.
Well, I think the first time that I thought, I have to figure this out for myself now that I'm an adult, is setting up utilities in an apartment. Nobody tells you when you move here, those are the companies to contact. not every city has the same electric companies and internet companies. So you have to figure out who to call and compare rates to see what's going to be the best for where you're living. Internet speeds, I don't know. I want a decent internet speed. I don't know if that one's better or not. Is that worth the cost? I don't know. So setting up utilities was like, whoa, okay, this is real. I have to do this for myself.
Some serious adulting going on. I remember the transition for me of student to working person. A couple instances. One was the difference in vacation. Mm-hmm. So as a student, undergrad, you get like a month off for Christmas, a week or two at Thanksgiving, summer, spring break. And when I was at seminary grad school, we had 3 10-week quarters, and I never worked in this. I didn't take school during the summer. So I always had part-time jobs, but I was in school for 30 weeks of the year, which meant for 22, I wasn't. So it wasn't vacation, but it kind of was. So I went from having 22 weeks of vacation
to 2 to 3.
Yeah, so to like 8 days or whatever, 10 days. So you graduate and you get get a real job. And it's like, okay, you have 10 days and like
you can't just be gone for the whole summer. Like, I'm just going to go off to this other country for the whole summer.
Yeah. That month backpacking in Paris, nope. You get 8 days so going from 22 weeks of vacation to 10 days. That was an alarming transition that I wasn't prepared for. So fish, enjoy your breaks. That's the moral of the story.
I will. I am. Yeah.
So right now you're actually on summer vacation, and Brian is an intern here at St. Luke's. So he's working on his vacation.
I am.
Which we're really thankful for.
Yes, we are.
I don't know what I would do if I wasn't working.
I thought you were going to say you don't know what you are doing while you're here, which is that's true too.
Yeah.
Is it hard for you to sit still and not do anything?
Well, like for the first couple of days, I enjoy it, but then I'm very hands-on. I have to be doing stuff in person. So like just sitting around.
There's wood chips to spread out in the playground. We'll talk about that.
Yeah, I can help with that.
Yeah. So vacation was one thing where I realized that was a big transition. And then even the idea of work sort of changed for me. That I got my first part-time job when I was 15, maybe 15 and a half. I think I had to be 15 and a half to get this worker's permit that my school had to sign off on. So I worked at a deli in St. Louis and could talk about that for hours and hours and hours. And then when I turned 16, I could handle knives and became a short order cook. Anyway, so all these part-time jobs. I moved to Virginia. I worked at a grocery store. I was bagging groceries and a cashier, and I worked in the meat department for a while, and all these different just fun part-time jobs. At undergrad, I worked in the writing center, so I helped people with their papers. They'd bring in their things, and I'd tell them that's not how commas work, and this paragraph doesn't make any sense, and just hopefully constructively help people write. And then at seminary, I first started working in the mail room, which was super fun. I love that job. So just sorting letters, not talking to anybody if I wanted. But then also I got to go make the rounds around campus, and I'd push my little mail cart, and I'd see all the admins all around campus. Good morning, here's your mail. And some days, that was in St. Louis, so that got pretty miserable at times, hot and cold and coming in and out of buildings. And then I worked in the copy center as well. And I got hired on at a church part-time. Anyway, throughout that whole time, I think I appreciated the income, and at seminary I probably needed it more. But especially in high school, it was almost like a badge of courage. Like, look at me, I'm working. Like, that's pretty cool. Some of these other kids aren't working, and I've got a job. And
that's like fun spending money.
Yeah.
Like at that point, you're not paying for bills and stuff. So.
Yeah, so it's all disposable income.
Yep.
And this sort of self-congratulatory, like, I got a job. Look at me. Like, you all should appreciate how cool it is that I'm working. And then you become an adult and, like, nobody cares. Just do your job. So it went from, like, I'm achieving to you're just doing what everyone is supposed to do. Yeah.
Yes, you should be doing that.
Yeah, so I went from, mentally, I'm excelling to you're barely doing anything that hardly counts. And all that money you used to be able to spend on things, you can't spend that. In fact, you probably shouldn't be buying the name brand macaroni. Yeah. So anyway, those were a couple moments for me when I realized, okay, this is different. I still don't know how to do all those moving things, utilities, taxes.
I mean, every time you move, there's different companies, there's different ways to do it. So it's learning. Also, if you're moving from place to place, like car registration stuff and getting different licenses. So all of that with moving too. It's tricky. Did you have to do it when you moved to Wisconsin? Do you have Wisconsin plates?
Nope, because all my mail gets sent home.
Okay.
So, no, I don't have to do that.
Okay, that's nice.
Because I technically, since I'm a student, live at home.
Right.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
So I'm just happen to be there most of the time. But, yeah.
Yeah, buying groceries is another transition out of at least college life. We had a big salad bar and, like a really good cafeteria. And I realized, it's going to be a lot for me to replicate a full, daily salad bar of fresh fruit and veggies. Frozen pizza looks pretty good at that point. It's pretty rough. So, Brian, what would you, if you were talking to a junior in high school sitting at her empty chair right here today, now that you're a few years removed from that, what would your best piece of advice to be as they get ready to graduate high school and move into college? If you could speak into them and say, hey, learn from me what I did that I wouldn't do again, or I did this and I'm so glad I did, what would your best advice be to a high school junior?
My advice would be, don't go into college expecting that it's going to go to plan, because that's what I did and it changed. I also was pretty introverted at PLU and I didn't get involved very much. And that was part of why PLU was unsuccessful for me. And so I would just say, build relationships with other people, get involved.
What would you have gotten involved in if you could do it again differently?
More clubs and just meeting people. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. That's all, because that's what I did at Concordia. I'm super involved and I know a lot of people, and that's really helped my experience.
What are you involved in now?
So I'm part of CMLT, and that's the campus ministry leadership team at Concordia. And so we have a bunch of ministries there that serve different areas of the community. So I'm part of Build, and that's Brothers United in Life and Devotion. That's the men's ministry. So we just meet weekly and do a Bible study. We do sports on the weekends. We have retreats. I'm also involved in youth ministries, and so we go out to local churches and host lock-ins for them. Students for Life, that's the pro-life ministry. I want to get involved in more. I'm also involved in Haven, so that's just on Sunday evenings. That's like the contemporary worship there. There's other things I'm involved in.
And you do homework in between all of those clubs.
Yes. That's
a lot to be involved in.
Yes. And from, I would say like 8 a.m. to, I would say 6 p.m., I'm doing homework or school.
Okay.
And so you just have to, time management too. It's very, very important.
Yeah. All right. So Segovia, question for you. If we've got a junior in college here and they're a year and a half, or in Brian's case, 4 years away from graduating, what's your best piece of advice as they enter the real world, so to speak?
My advice would be that there's always going to be somebody that will pressure you one way or the other. You're going to feel pressure from all sides, but don't let that influence you into something that you don't want to do, or maybe you're not ready to do. It might, if it means taking time off and not going to college right away, that's okay. If it means going straight into work and not college, that's okay. If it means going to a trade school to learn specific skills and not going to a 4-year, that's okay. There's lots of different roads, lots of different options. So don't let yourself be swayed or feel super pressured to do something you don't want to or aren't ready for.
Yeah, there's armed services. There's your parents' couch. There's
for so long, yeah.
There's all kinds of options.
Yep.
Yeah, good deal. I think thinking about, so we had like a high school kind of transition, college transition. As I think about like graduate school for me, I would, if I could do it over again, I would not be so focused on having it all together and not trying to impress professors as much as actually getting to know them and need them and ask for things more. I think I really wanted to do a good job and show them how competent I was, which was fine. But I think I left a lot of opportunities on the table by not sort of asking for more guidance, help, direction, kind of, not feeling, I wish I didn't have the need to have it all together. Instead, I could have, connected more outside of class and at different universities and grad schools. That is obviously maybe a bigger challenge depending on class size and enrollment like that. But having gone to a couple smaller schools, I think there were more opportunities to connect with mentors than I took advantage of. So, yeah, you don't have to have it all together. I think that's kind of what I heard in each of ours, a little bit of things are going to change.
Even if you had a plan, things are probably going to change.
It's going to change.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, you didn't fail if you adjusted.
Yeah.
Nope.
And sometimes it's actually going to be the sooner you adjust, the easier it might be. And it's maybe never too late also all right, I wish I would have had this epiphany or thought or courage a year or 2 or 4 ago, but today's today, first day of the rest of my life kind of thing. Here we go.
Right.
Cool. Well, Brian, thank you for being here today. Thanks for sharing a little bit.
Yeah.
Thanks for answering the phones and taking out the trash and whatever it is you do around here as an intern.
Oh yeah, no problem. Happy to do it.
So yeah, we're looking forward to seeing what unfolds there. Brenda, always a pleasure. I feel like I learned more about you today. Softball. I didn't realize the softball connection.
Yeah, I can't believe I hadn't mentioned that before.
You maybe did. I don't
maybe.
listen very well sometimes, most of the time.
We all keep learning about each other, so it's fine.
This is good. And listeners, thanks for listening. Thanks for being part of the conversation. We'd love to hear from you what college was like, graduation from high school was like, what those transition times were like. You're not alone. Maybe it was really easy and by the book. Maybe it was tumultuous and really terrible. I'd personally love to just hear from you, whether it's on a Sunday morning or through an email. Shoot us a line at 2414 at stlukes-church.com or show up here on a Sunday morning sometime. And we'll look forward to connecting with you later.
That's the end of the episode, but we want to continue the conversation. Continue the conversation by sharing this episode, subscribing, or leaving a review. Connect with us on Instagram at 2414 podcast. Connect with us through email at 2414 at stlukes-church.com. Or best of all, keep the conversation going by inviting someone to process with you so that you can each walk away with more understanding that leads to more conversation as the journey continues. If you happen to be in the Seattle-Tacoma area of Washington, stop by on a Sunday morning and say hi. 2414 is a podcast produced by St. Luke's Lutheran Church in Federal Way, Washington. To find more content, discover upcoming opportunities to connect in person, or to support the show, head on over to stlukes-church.com. Thanks for walking with us.